What's up everybody and welcome back to the YouTube channel. I hope you're well. I'm great, thank you for asking. Today we're in for a leg workout, an instructional leg workout. The whys, the hows, the whens of what we do with leg training and how to maximize your leg training. We've got to consider a few things, biomechanics, we've got to consider how tall people are and also prioritizing muscles in their different ways. So without further ado, we're going to milk it again. This is legs with an IFBB Pro. Alright guys, first exercise. Now, we're doing a lying leg curl first because generally speaking, there's only a few ways that you can hit your hamstrings. One is with an isolation curl, like a lying leg curl, where the weight is bearing against the back of your leg and you've got to actively pull it forward. And the other one is a hip hinge, of course, but I don't want a hip hinge on this day because I hip hinge on my pull day. So the only way that my hamstrings are really getting hit today is through this. If you think about in a leg press, if you think about a hack squat, yes, your hamstrings do get long and short. The weight is not being it's not being loaded as much. So you're going to get some activation from those, but not direct. So that's the reason why we're starting with this. It's also low energy demanding. It's not going to take me a load of energy to do 2 or 3 sets of this. So it's not going to take away from my sets of hack squats and leg extensions and things like that. So I also want to maximize getting the hamstring short. We've talked about this in other instructionals. The ability to get your hamstring in that shortest position, loaded as much as possible, is going to get harder and harder and harder and harder as you work out. So we're going to do it first. Top set, baby. So one big focus for me in this off season, build my hamstrings, build my glutes. I get a soggy bum when I'm lean, a real soggy bum lad. I get shredded for sure, and like my hamstrings are actually pretty gnarly, but there's just no thickness to them from the side. When I do hit side shots, I want that real thick shot. So a little bit more hamstring volume. So I'm doing 3 sets here, and then we're going to go on to a hip thrust after this. I think I go in here. Yeah, that locks in there. And I push this. That goes there. What the fuck? There we go. That's quite the foot placement. Oh, and then you can just pull this off. That's pretty good actually. It's pretty clever. Atlantis, I'll take my hat off to you. So a pro tip for any leg exercise, take your shoes off. I'm wearing Yeezys, they're like mattresses. And if you stand on a mattress, what happens? Imbalance. We want fixed feet. So if you're someone who wears anything with a soft sole or a softer sole, most running shoes, for example, probably best to try and get a flat shoe. You can get Nano X1s, you can get Converse, you can just go barefoot, you can get Vibrams. There's so many options out there for a flat foot, which is much more beneficial in the long run for your muscles. So just a couple sets on hip thrusts. Not my most favorite exercise, to say the least, but if I want to change my physique for the better, you sometimes have to do those, and there's not many exercises that hit the glute as good as a hip thrust. So just a couple sets here, again doing this before the other stuff because it's not too demanding, it's quite isolated, it's a very fixed movement. It's something I want to prioritize, and that's something you guys should consider as priority principle takes place. You want your incline chest to grow, do it first. You want your glutes and hamstrings to grow, do it first. More energy available, more focus. Makes sense to do things first if you want them to improve more. Oh. So very similarly to the hamstring curl. We're going to do a leg extension now before hack squats and leg extension, hack squats and leg press. Now, I'm not too worried if you want to do that afterwards, but I do like doing it first for a few reasons. A lot more warmth to the knee, a lot more fluid moving around the knee. You can really maximize getting the quad short, which is in that fully extended position. You don't get into that position in a hack squat or a leg press, because if you do, you're finna snap some shit up, but we don't want to do that. So it makes sense for us to work it in this range. We're using the prime leg extension here, so you'll see we have 3 tiered points. It essentially just loads the quad heavier or lighter at a certain point. I'm doing this so that it's heavy at the bottom, and as I get weaker and weaker and weaker, because we know that holding it in this position is actually the weakest position, it's dropped off the most. And we know in a strong position, which is mid-range, it's probably its heaviest. And we know maybe a slightly weaker range, but still strong range in the lengthen range is loaded the most. So it's loaded most, now it's dropping off, as I get weaker, and you can massively get the quad short. So that's why we're doing it first. I'm gonna let you into some tricks of the trade. Issue with heavy leg extensions quite often is hips coming up off the pad. So an easy fix, a cheap fix, because I think there's some machines that probably have this, but most don't. All we're going to do is just get a normal green band, loop it over one side right around the bottom, loop around the other side right around the bottom, and you now have a seat belt. Okay, not fully locked in, but you're much more locked in than before. You can also get wrist wraps, pull yourself in, and you can really load up safely. A final tip for leg extensions. This pad is going to go on your shin. You want it to come as high up the knee as feels comfortable. You're going to reduce the amount of shear that comes through the knee. So the lower that is down onto the ankle, the more shear you're getting through that force of the knee. If we can load up, yes, you might be getting a little bit less weight coming through, but for the safety of the knee, it's much worth it. Much more worth it. Up. Oh, it's gone. So we're into a leg press. Now the only reason we're doing the leg press is because the guy is on the hack squat for about 19 sets. We're just going to do this instead. So we're supposed to do the second. It doesn't make too much of a difference. Very, very similar concepts. We've got 2 sets here. The first set's going to be banded, which is essentially going to add tension as you go through, as we go from hamstrings and glutes into quads, because we're looking to load the quads a little bit more. This is just your standard Cybex linear. I do like a pivot quite a lot. There isn't a good pivot in here, so we're stuck with this one, but this one's pretty good anyway. So you'll notice on my leg press there, I'm lowering that to my deepest stable range. That is going to be defined by, is my lower back is my lumbar on the pad. As soon as it starts to roll off, you start to compromise your hips, start to compromise your lower back. I wouldn't go that low. So that's as low as I can go. You might be able to go lower. You might not be able to go as low. So just understand how low you can go personally, comfortably and safely. So we're going to reverse band this one. The reason why I'm going to reverse band it is because we're doing this pretty late in the workout, and it's just going to help me in a place where I'm weak. So obviously the band's going to get tighter as you go down. As you go down, there's more pressure on your spine, more pressure on your lower back. Also, it works very similarly to the band on the leg press, is that it's going to load you when you're in a safer position, but also when your quads come into play. And that's what we're trying to finish off here, the quads. So we're going to reverse band this one. Daisy chain, carabiner, 1MR, dot shot, wrap it around. I'm just going to go in. So, span and angled. Some really, really good sets. Now we're just going to kiss calves because I want bigger calves. I've got big calves. I don't train my calves. People always comment on my calves and I don't train them. So what happens when I do train them? We're about to find out. Every other session, so at the moment I train 2 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off. Every other session, calves, abs, calves, abs, calves, abs. Today's calves, obviously, because leg day. Pause. Lengthen range, take out any of that inertia, any of that stretch reflex from the Achilles. Pause. Drive. That's going to wrap up leg day. So just to recap, focus on getting quads and hamstrings short, maximize that ability to get short first. Hamstrings, extensions, curls and extensions. Also, that helps get knee fluid into the joint, helps increase a little bit of safety. Nice to have a little bit of cushion on there. Then we go into our big compounds, hit our big bang for the buck exercises. 3 to 4 sets there, maximum efforts that you can. Manipulate your resistance profiles to try and focus on the quads a little bit based off what your session is. Of course, mine's very specific to me. I'm trying to grow a little bit of everything here, so it's quite evenly spread volume. If you've got huge hamstrings, do a bit more quads. If you've got huge quads, do a little more hamstrings. And then, of course, finishing off with those lower energy exercises because energy demand and fatigue has been built and been used. So now, calves. And if you wanted to throw in some extra volume and you can feel like it, you could maybe do some more curls or something. But that is going to wrap up my leg session and how I structure my leg sessions and how I think that you should structure your leg sessions. The volume may be different. I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, but it's a very, very good way to do it and it's effective. We're tracking every lift that we do, we're progressing it over time, and we're staying in a surplus for a while, which is good to know. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll be back very, very soon. Peace and love, everybody. Bye-bye.